The old man never could have imagined that the girlfriend his son brought home was actually his long-lost first love.
Dad, this is
Adeline.
Jenny, actually.
The old man couldn't stop staring at his son's girlfriend until his daughter nudged him, and he realized how awkward he was being.
Sorry, it's just... You look exactly like this old friend of mine, Adeline Bowman.
That's my mother.
You joke. You really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Did you know her?
Wow. We were very close. How's she doing?
She passed away.
When he heard that his former lover had passed away, the old man was shocked and utterly devastated. But what he didn't know was that the woman standing right in front of him was his first love. And it all started on a night 80 years ago, in a southern town where it never snowed. A freak snowstorm suddenly rolled in. 28-year-old Adeline was rushing home when she lost control of her car on the road. It crashed through the guardrail, tumbled down the hillside, and plunged straight into the freezing river below. She lost consciousness almost immediately, and her heart stopped beating. But right at that moment, something miraculous happened. A massive bolt of lightning struck from the sky, sending a powerful surge of electricity through the icy water and restarting her heart. Before long, she woke from her coma, and from that moment on, she received a gift from above, the ability to stay forever young. Her life was frozen in time at the age of 28. As the years went by, people around her grew suspicious of her ageless face.
Adeline? My God, you haven't changed a bit.
To keep her secret hidden, Adeline had no choice but to credit her ageless appearance to good makeup and skincare. Her daughter loved seeing her mother look so young, always beaming with a joyful smile. But deep down, Adeline knew the truth. This so-called eternal youth was really a terrifying curse. Not long after, she was pulled over by a cop for a traffic violation. When he checked the ID Adeline provided, he grew suspicious about whether the information was real.
That would make you 45 years old?
Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm going to hold on to this. When you come by the station house to pick it up, please bring your birth certificate.
I'd be happy to, officer. Is tomorrow morning all right?
Sure.
Terrified of drawing unwanted attention to herself, Adeline packed her bags that very day and left her hometown. She went into hiding in an unfamiliar place, burying herself in books, seeking answers for her condition. But after a full year of searching, she couldn't find a single scientific theory that could explain her impossible condition. From then on, she had no choice but to accept this curse of immortality, living every day looking over her shoulder. Then one stormy night, government investigators caught up with her. Two men in black used her lack of residency papers as an excuse and shoved her into their car without explanation. They claimed they just needed to run a few tests, but Adeline was absolutely terrified. The thought of cold medical examinations and horrifying lab experiments filled her with sheer panic. Luckily, when the men stepped away for a moment, Adeline seized her chance and managed to escape through the trunk. To make sure they couldn't find her again, she had no choice but to run once more. Maybe the price of eternal youth was a life on the run, but her daughter was the one thing she couldn't let go of. Before leaving, Adeline had to say goodbye.
The next time we see each other, I'll have a new identity. I'll always be your mother. You'll just have to introduce me as your friend. Mama, no. It has to be this way.
From that day on, Adeline drifted through life like a leaf with no roots, carried wherever the current took her. Every 10 years, she would change her name and address. As time passed, her wealth kept growing. Before she knew it, she had become a billionaire. But this fortune most people could only dream of meant absolutely nothing to Adeline. She couldn't make friends, and she certainly couldn't fall in love. Only a little dog stayed faithfully by her side. And in all her lonely years of wandering, the closest thing she had to a friend was a blind pianist. One evening, at the pianist's invitation, Adeline attended a fancy New Year's Eve party. While wandering through the crowd, she spotted a photo of her younger self hanging on the wall, even though decades had passed. Looking at it now, she looked exactly the same as the woman in that photo.
Hey, Ray, if you don't move your hands away from me.
Hands are on the table.
The sudden flood of memories hit Adeline with a wave of sadness. Time had pressed pause on her life. She was still young, but the people who once shared her laughter and tears were long gone. Despite her stunning beauty and no shortage of admirers, she knew that being cursed by time meant she didn't deserve any kind of love. Perhaps for someone who never ages, loneliness is the only constant in life. But a man standing nearby caught her eye and she couldn't look away. Something about the way he carried himself reminded her of someone from her past, and Adeline's beauty, shining like the brightest star in the night sky, naturally drew his attention as well. They gazed at each other for a long moment, until a young woman appeared at his side, and Adeline quietly let the thought go, wrapping herself back in her familiar cloak of solitude. But just as she stepped into the elevator, ready to leave this place that had stirred up so many feelings, that man came chasing after her, like a gust of wind. The moment he stepped inside, he used a pickup line that was cheesy yet sincere, charming and witty yet perfectly polite. He had Adeline genuinely laughing. But that brief moment of joy couldn't shake her resolve. The second the elevator doors opened, she bolted from that dangerously tempting space. But the man wasn't about to give up.
Where you off to?
Some place with better food. My apartment.
Like a shadow, he followed Adeline all the way outside trying to get her number. But Adeline turned him down again and again. She wanted him to take the hint and back off, but she clearly underestimated his determination. Just as Adeline was getting into a taxi to leave, he threw himself in front of the car to stop it.
There you go again, putting your hand in places it doesn't belong.
How do we get in touch?
Happy New Year, Ellis. Thank you so much.
Adeline figured he would be just like all the others and eventually give up against her emotional walls, so she didn't give it another thought. The day after New Year's Eve was her birthday. There was no big party like you'd expect. No flowers or gifts from friends and family. Only her elderly daughter, full of love and warm wishes, met her at a little corner restaurant. Seeing her daughter grow older each day left Adeline with a bittersweet ache. She knew she was destined to outlive her own child. Since her 10-year cycle was up, Adeline suggested moving closer to live with her daughter, to be there for her in the final chapter of her life. But her daughter knew how risky that would be and couldn't bear the thought of her mother grieving her death. So she insisted on going to a nursing home instead. Seeing how firm her daughter's mind was made up, Adeline didn't push it any further. Over all these years, besides constantly moving from place to place, she had found herself a job at the library. And because of that, she had developed a special bond with books. One day, while working at the library as usual, she got quite a surprise. The man from New Year's Eve had actually tracked her down. He showed up under the pretense of donating some books, but really he was there to get Adeline's contact information. When he saw Adeline was right there, he'd only donate the books if she agreed to a date. Since the books were ones Adeline truly wanted, she couldn't bring herself to say no.
Where?
Someplace you've never been.
Well, if it's in this city, that's unlikely.
Try me.
The next day, Ellis took Adeline to a cave, excitedly telling her about his archaeological discovery. Hundreds of years ago, this area was a vast ocean, teeming with life and stories. Countless gold seekers had flocked to this city chasing their dreams, anchoring their ships in these waters. But time marched on, the landscape transformed, and now it was all dry land. Yet a perfectly preserved ship still lay here, resting quietly underground. Adeline was instantly captivated by this wonder of nature. She walked slowly toward the ancient ship, gently running her fingers over the rough weathered wood, and felt something stir deep inside her. She couldn't understand how time could reshape mountains and oceans, yet refused to leave a single mark on her face. Ellis picked up on the emotion swelling inside her, so he led her out of the cave, and once again charmed her with his signature blend of humor and grace that had Adeline smiling from ear to ear. They quickly found they had so much in common. Ellis struck while the iron was hot and scored a dinner date with her. Before she knew it, Adeline had dressed up for their second date. Ellis was over the moon. He played the perfect gentleman, helping her with her coat, and had prepared a gorgeous dinner for the two of them. The delicious food didn't just win over her taste buds, it started to thaw the heart she had kept frozen for so long. Under this relentless romantic assault, Adeline's emotional walls finally crumbled. For the first time in decades, that heart worn down by loneliness and isolation came alive again. She had fallen in love once more. Just when she thought her lonely days were finally over, she came home to find her beloved dog that had been with her for years, lying motionless on the floor. The poor thing was already fading fast, and the vet said there was nothing more he could do. He suggested Adeline let the dog go peacefully, to spare it any more suffering. Losing her dog was a painful wake-up call for Adeline, reminding her she could never grow old with anyone. She began to resent this curse of eternal youth, because living forever meant endless goodbyes. It meant watching helplessly as every person she loved withered away and left her behind, while she could do absolutely nothing about it. So she had to take a hard look at her relationship with Ellis, because even if they built something beautiful together, Ellis would eventually leave her too. She couldn't bear to have her heart broken again. So when Ellis showed up at her door with flowers, she deliberately pushed him away. To end things as quickly as possible, she said some truly cruel things and broke up with him on the spot.
Are you serious?
Adeline's sudden change of heart left Ellis completely bewildered. Maybe a woman's heart really is impossible to figure out, but he could never truly understand the pain Adeline carried inside. She wanted nothing more than to run into Ellis's arms and tell him the truth she had buried deep within. But perhaps in this endless stretch of immortal life, she was simply destined to be alone. To keep Ellis from finding her, Adeline decided to move immediately. Her daughter rushed over to help when she heard the news. During their conversation, when her daughter learned she had sabotaged the relationship, she was heartbroken for her. She begged her mother to go back and apologize to Ellis, but Adeline just couldn't bring herself to take that step. She was afraid her battered heart simply couldn't survive another wound.
Come on. If you won't do it for yourself, do it for me. Please.
With her daughter's encouragement, Adeline finally decided to face her feelings head-on. She knew Ellis had a passion for history and artifacts, and playing to his interests was the key to winning back his heart. So she brought him to an abandoned warehouse that had once been a bustling drive-in theater. The moment Adeline flipped the switch, it was like they were floating among the clouds, with a galaxy of stars everywhere they looked. Dazzling lights twinkled and danced around them, pulling them into a world that felt like a dream. Under that magical canopy of stars, Adeline gathered all her courage and told Ellis how she truly felt about him. Ellis was absolutely thrilled to hear it, and the very next day, he brought Adeline home to meet his parents. But fate has a wicked sense of humor. Ellis's father seemed to already know Adeline somehow.
Dad, this is
Adeline.
As it turned out, Ellis's father, William, was the very man Adeline had walked away from all those years ago. It happened one afternoon 50 years earlier. When Adeline's car broke down on the side of the road, a handsome young man just happened to pass by. With just one look at each other, a spark ignited, and something magical began between them. The best love stories always start with love at first sight. They quickly fell head over heels for each other, completely inseparable. Adeline broke every rule she had ever set for herself. Before long, William had secretly bought a ring, planning to propose, but Adeline happened to catch sight of it when she came to see him. She knew she was cursed by time, and could never grow old with William like everyone else. With no other choice, she forced herself to swallow the heartbreak, and carrying all that regret and longing, she vanished from William's life completely. No one could have imagined that half a century later, they would cross paths again in such an unbelievable way. Seeing the love of his life standing right there, William couldn't take his eyes off her, until his daughter gave him a nudge, and he snapped out of it, realizing just how inappropriate he had been.
You look exactly like this old friend of mine, Adeline Bowman.
That's my mother.
You joke. You really? How's she doing?
She passed away.
When he was told his first love had passed away, William was shocked to his core and overcome with grief. Even after everyone had gone, his heart still couldn't find peace. Memories came flooding back one after another. Every unforgettable moment they had shared felt like it had happened just yesterday. Adeline's sudden disappearance all those years ago had left an unhealable wound in his heart. Even after 50 years, he still wanted answers. But now that she was supposedly gone, it seemed like he would never get them. It was going to be a sleepless night. So late that evening, William found Adeline and told her the story of him and her mother, his voice heavy with regret.
I was gonna propose to her. I had an engagement ring in my pocket. She stood me up. Near miss.
Listening to her former lover pour his heart out, Adeline felt the weight of regret just as deeply. Maybe some people are simply meant to be passing figures in our lives, no matter how much your heart aches to hold on. Some loves just aren't meant to last. All Adeline could do was channel the love she once owed him. Through the guise of being his daughter,
She loved you too.
only then did William finally make peace with the past and quietly close the chapter on that long-ago love. But fate always has another twist up its sleeve. A few days later, when William was brushing a bug out of his son's girlfriend's hair, he froze in shock. The scar on her hand looked all too familiar. He was absolutely certain Adeline had the exact same scar. He remembered walking through the woods with Adeline. When a broken branch sliced her hand, he clearly remembered cleaning the wound and stitching it up himself, and he could never forget the photo they took together at their campsite that day. To confirm his suspicion, he raced to the storage room. After frantically searching through his things, he finally found that photograph. In that moment, he knew without a doubt that his son's girlfriend was his first love, but he didn't keep this revelation to himself. He immediately drove to find Adeline, determined to get the truth.
I know who you are, Adeline.
What?
The scar. The same scar. I stitched it myself. Please, the truth.
Cornered by William's questions, Adeline couldn't keep up the act any longer, fighting every instinct to run. She finally told him everything, through tears and a trembling voice. She laid out the whole story from beginning to end. Back then, she had desperately wanted to tell William the truth, but she was terrified that if her secret got out, people would see her as a freak. She feared becoming a lab rat for cold experiments and putting her family in danger.
Can't imagine how much it hurt.
You think I can?
After hearing the full story, William didn't blame Adeline. Instead, in a gentle voice, he begged her not to disappear again. He didn't want his son to end up the same way he did. Adeline was torn and tormented inside. She knew that if anyone found out about her connection to both father and son, she would be treated like a freak, mocked and ridiculed, and branded with a scandalous reputation. So she ran without looking back. Before Ellis could find out what happened, she left behind only a brief note, ignoring William's desperate pleas. She jumped in her car and fled as fast as she could. When Ellis found the note, he stared at those few vague words, with no idea what they really meant. He assumed his father had driven Adeline away. Burning with anger, he stormed over to his father, shouting and demanding to know what the hell had happened. But no matter how hard Ellis pressed him, William just couldn't explain. He didn't know where to begin, let alone confess such a crazy past to his own son. So Ellis grabbed his things, determined to go after Adeline right then and there, perhaps not wanting his son to repeat his own mistakes. Before he left, William asked his son one question.
Do you love her?
Yes.
How do you know?
Dad, I don't...
It's a simple question. How do you know?
Because nothing makes sense without her.
William understood exactly what his son was feeling. He placed the car keys in Ellis's hand, hoping his son could finish what he himself never could, and not spend a lifetime regretting it. Meanwhile, Adeline was racing down the road in full retreat, tears blurring her vision. She thought back on her life. This damn ageless face had put her through hell. Night after night, she had lived in a constant cycle of fear, running and hiding, drowning in loneliness, never truly living a life worth calling her own. Just as she was consumed by that endless despair, Ellis's warm, healing smile flashed through her mind, and in that instant, her walls came crashing down for good. After a moment of reflection, she made her decision to turn back, to face this curse of eternal youth head on. No matter what happened, she was going to fight for this love. But just as she turned the car around, a truck came out of nowhere and slammed right into her. The truck driver saw there were no witnesses at the scene and took off into the night, leaving Adeline badly injured, alone in the silent valley waiting for the end. Then the sky started dumping snow once again. By the time Ellis reached her heart had already stopped beating. Paramedics arrived on the scene shortly after. As they used the defibrillator on her, something miraculous happened once again. Just like when lightning had struck her all those years ago, her heart jolted back to life. Consciousness slowly returned, and she woke from the darkness. After she was rushed to the hospital, with the doctor's help, Adeline's condition gradually stabilized. Through it all, Ellis never left her side, not even for a second. Having survived such a close call, they both treasured this second chance like a gift from above. After a passionate kiss, Adeline decided it was finally time to tell Ellis everything, and to her great relief, Ellis didn't care about any of it.
I told you I loved you.
I love you too.
Not long after, her daughter rushed to the hospital as soon as she got word. When she learned her mother was going to be all right, she finally let out the breath she had been holding.
This is oh, nice to meet you. I'm Jenny's grandmother. What is it?
He knows.
When her daughter heard those words, she burst into tears of joy. A wish she had carried for so many years had finally come true. From now on, her mother would never be alone again, and she could finally enjoy her own remaining years in peace. Once Adeline was discharged, they became a happy little family of 3. They even adopted a new puppy. On Adeline's 109th birthday, while she was getting ready in front of the mirror, she made a startling discovery. A single gray hair at her temple. It gleamed with a special kind of shimmer under the light. Adeline stared at it, and a smile of pure joy spread across her face, because it meant she could finally have the ordinary life she had always dreamed of. And that is the true meaning time gives to life. It was never about giving us eternal beauty, but the gift of growing old with someone you love. William spent half his life waiting and finally found closure. Ellis's love broke through the chains that had bound her, and time with its gift of aging regained and restored, gave her the most precious thing of all. Time was never a fair measure. It carves loneliness into the immortal and plants eternity in the hearts of the brave. The stories hidden in wrinkles, the tenderness woven through gray hair, are worth more than any ageless face, because the meaning of life was never about how long you live, but the marks left by loving, hurting, and truly living. Those are the deepest imprints time leaves on us all.